We've sent this gentleman a remanufactured a tow monster engine. We're now going to tear down his core. So let me explain what a core is. A lot of times customers are like, what do you mean by a core chart? We'll send you an engine. Then when you get it, you're going to send us back what we sent you, basically, and this is what a long block is. We need the valve train intact. We don't want you to take the rocker arms off. You're going to take the turbo and all the pedestal off. You'll take the high pressure pump off. That'll come off. You'll take your front timing cover off, your oil pan, we call it all the peripherals. So basically all I need you to worry about sending me back is exactly what we sent you, and we call this a long block, which is basically the head, all the rocker arms, the push rod, the valve train and all that. I don't want the front cover, I don't want the rear cover or the flywheel, none of that. This is all we're gonna do. And then we tear this motor down and we'll inspect it to see if it's a viable core. Now, what is a viable core? I cannot have any cracks in the cylinder heads, cracks in the block, holes in the block, a crankshaft that's beyond repair, or a camshaft that's beyond repair. So we're gonna tear this down and we're gonna find out, is this a viable core? Will the gentleman get full core credit back, or will there be some credits because of parts that are broken? Let's find out. So this was not the original engine in this customer's truck. He told me that he had bought an engine and had replaced it, and it failed on it. So we're gonna find out what it failed. I haven't really found a problem yet. Yeah, here we go. Now we get down to the nitty gritty, or the crappy. Yeah. So let's just see how much. Yeah, the customer probably complained. Now this motor was shipped out to Florida. Our motor, this was returned to us from Florida. And I'm sure if I called the customer, he'd say, yeah, the thing was rattling and making a knocking noise. A lot of times people want me to speculate like that bearing. It's got a lot of dirt matter on it. It's hard to say, to look at the motor, because in here I have no sludge buildup or anything like that. Now this dirt here that we're finding here, this don't let that fool you. That was done in shipping. In fact, this here, let me see. So yeah, this is overheat. The Babbitt's coming off the bearing, so it's you know, it's definitely lack of lubrication to the main the rod bearings. Be interesting to see if we find the same thing on the main bearings. Now, this is the 6.7, and if you'll watch one of my very first YouTube videos, longs on a 6.7, this motor is notorious for it takes a very long time for the mains to get oil in this motor. They're actually the last thing besides the rods to get oil, because it has to fill up the hollow camshaft. It's got to go through this huge piping in the oil pan, the oil cooler, and all that before we actually get pressured to the main and the rods. And this could just be that problem. So I've developed a fix for this motor for that particular issue, and just to let everybody know, we're seeking patent on it right as we speak. So I'm pretty excited about getting that released, because I'm telling you, the most famous thing this motor goes down for is spun main bearing. So let's see if we got a spun main bearing on this thing. Okay. It didn't spin the main, but the main has suffered. This is usually dirt when you see this, but this could be, you know, bearing matter that was cutting loose on other bearings. Didn't spin that one. Yep, some material lost. Yeah. There's a spun. So this one spun the bearing, the middle one here. A lot of guys out there, they say, I've torn down that motor, I've never seen a spun main bearing. Well, have you torn down hundreds of the 6.7 Powerstroke? I would almost venture to say that nobody in America is doing more of them than me. And you can see that, so this block is junk. Once it spins that, the block is junk. So he will be charged for the block core on that. The heads seem to be okay, but the block is junk. And we'll lift this crank out of here, but you can see the parting line. The parting line on that main bearing is right here. So the bearing has actually caught itself and spun in the motor. And go ahead and finish getting your rods out of there. We'll lift it out of there and show them. The reason that it ruins the block is, let me explain that, is the main bore housing is very, let me show you a main bore housing here. That housing has to be perfectly around, and it can't be, you know, egg-shaped or, you know, oblong or anything like that. It has to be perfectly round, and it has to be perfectly round within 0.0002 of an inch, 2/10,000ths of an inch. That's 10 times finer than a human hair. That's how critical that bore size is. It is concentric and round. And when you take a bearing journal and you spin it around in there dry like that, it ruins it. We got this all tore down, and I thought I'd show you this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mains. These are the bottom of the mains. Actually, when I say the bottom, these are actually the top. This is where the oil comes from the camshaft housing down into the main to charge the mains. And remember, the mains are the last thing to get charged. This is the main. You can see how bad it's tore up. That actually spun in the housing, and you can see this ridge here on the back side of that bearing where it spun in the housing. So every rod bearing has been trashed because of that. This is a real problem with this motor. The way this motor receives oil pressure is not optimal.